Selamat pagi. Welcome to the latest news from Bali and Indonesia. This is June 27th, 2022, and my name is Bruce. What is the weather like today? The weather is absolutely beautiful. Gentle waves in the ocean, in the sea, and the temperature 30.1 degrees Celsius, wind speed 5.4 kilometers per hour, and the humidity is 64%. It is a lovely day in the Kampung and in Singaraja as a whole, from what I can see from up on the roof. There is so much to talk about today. I know I'm going to have to cut out huge parts of what I wanted to talk about. The main story is the national and international story about the president of Indonesia, Pak Jokowi, going off to Europe, and we're going to get to that in just a second. But first, let's take a look at the numbers. So what about the numbers? In the previous video, I was talking about possibility of bringing back mask wearing again and booster shots for travel. Well, the numbers are still pretty steady, a little high, but they haven't really gone much over the 2,000 mark. Today, 1,726 new cases nationally, and national recoveries, 1,175, deaths 3. Bali cases, 51. Bali recoveries, 22, and Bali deaths, 0. So good news on that front. Now remember that this is Monday, right? And the numbers tend to be lower over the weekend. And so we'll see how they are on Wednesday when we come back for the next update. The main story is a national and international story, and it is about the president of Indonesia, Pak Jokowi. Jokowi sets off to Europe on Russian-Ukraine peace mission. The president of Indonesia is going to try to broker peace between Ukraine and Russia. This year, with Indonesia being the president of the G20, Pak Jokowi is off on diplomatic jaunts, and he will be going first to the G7 meetings, and well, it'll be interesting to see how he relates to President Biden, who will be at the G7 meetings trying to solidify and maintain support for sanctions against Russia because of the invasion of Ukraine. Pak Jokowi has been trying to stay in the middle between Ukraine and Russia. They condemned the Russian invasion of the Ukraine, but he's not taking part in the sanctions. And he resisted calls to block Russia from attending the G20 meetings. Instead, he invited President Putin and President Zelensky. Pak Jokowi said the mission is to build peace because the war must be stopped and its effects on the food supply chain must be lifted. Pak Jokowi said, "We will encourage and invite the G7 countries to work together to broker peace in Ukraine and also to find an urgent solution to deal with the food and energy crisis that is engulfing the world." Before Pak Jokowi left for Europe, he claimed that his effort to broker a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine was crucial not only for Indonesia but for other developing countries, which he said were vulnerable to ripple effects from the war. Russia's invasion of Ukraine has choked global markets and contributed to a surge in the price of basic commodities such as meat, dairy products, cereals, sugar, and vegetable oil. While the impact of the surge has been relatively limited here in Indonesia up to this point, it did prompt the government to temporarily put a ban on the export of palm oil products. Pak Jokowi said, "These visits are not only important for Indonesians, but also other developing countries, in order to prevent the people of developing and low-income countries from falling into extreme poverty and hunger." And so Pak Jokowi is attempting to take a leadership position for developing and low-income countries. And we're going to see how that works out. After Pak Jokowi leaves Europe, he'll be stopping in the UAE before he returns to Indonesia, where he plans to continue discussing economic cooperation between the two countries. The government had previously turned to the UAE as a potential investor in Pak Jokowi's what the Jakarta Post calls his pet project in East Kalimantan, where he plans to have a new capital called Nusantara. And he wants to have it up and running before the end of his presidency in 2024. The Ukrainian ambassador to Indonesia said he expects Pak Jokowi's efforts to broker a peace deal to be successful. And he said, without ending the war, there will be no food security, energy security, and logistics cannot be guaranteed as long as the war continues. Can Pak Jokowi broker a peace deal, or will he be unsuccessful? And here's an interesting story. This came out last week, right? Task force calls foreigners contribute to increase in COVID-19 cases in Bali. Dozens of foreign nationals are considered to have contributed to the increase in the number of COVID cases in Bali in the past 3 days. That was last week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. From the records of the COVID-19 task force, since Tuesday of last week, there were 65 confirmed cases, which I talked about on Wednesday, and of these, 17 were foreigners. Then on Wednesday, there were 51 cases, 21 of which were foreigners. Then on Thursday, there were 56 cases with 18 foreigners. The head of the Bali Provincial Health Office, E. Nyoman Gede Anam, said that one of the reasons why foreigners were confirmed to be COVID-19 was because they still brought their country's habit of not wearing masks. And Pak Anam said there are some foreigners who live in Bali positive for COVID-19, and they live in Canggu and Krobokan, and they are free there. They don't want to wear a mask. In fact, our people are disciplined to wear a mask. So, well, that's up for debate, right? Definitely more Indonesians are wearing masks in a percentage-wise than foreigners, but there are mask-wearing problems with the Indonesians as well. And you know, I've talked about this issue for 2 years about foreigners refusing to wear a mask here, and you know what I feel about it. But in this case, blaming foreigners for the increase in cases, okay, definitely they're a part of it. But let's be honest, they're certainly not the main cause of what's happening here. He said, from the start, when I took office, there have been positive foreigner cases. In fact, the number is often more than Indonesian citizens. Okay, I have not noticed that before. In order to prevent the spread of cases continuing, his party asked the public to continue to comply with the rules set by the government, namely for the elderly group, comorbidities, as well as people with colds and fevers to continue to wear masks both inside and outside. And so, I don't know. Foreigners are always a good target. And of course, foreigners in Bali give the government plenty of reasons to say bad things about them. But in this case, I don't know that foreigners are pushing the surge forward here. Certainly not in Indonesia as a whole. But right now, nobody has to wear a mask outside unless you have comorbidities, unless you're sick, unless you're elderly. So, well, let's see how things pan out. And here is something that is kind of worrying. You know, I was a teacher for most of my life, and, well, I like to get lessons in sometimes. Here is something, just a warning. Sometimes I do these little stories that don't seem to be related to anything particularly, but they're lessons about things that we need to be careful of if you are living here, particularly if you're living here, but also if you're just a tourist, especially if you're a long-term tourist, you need to watch out because this is a country of laws, and the immigration department can get pretty picky about things. So what about this? Violating Immigration Act, Taiwan citizen deported. So a Taiwanese citizen who's been living in Indonesia and is married to an Indonesian woman is going to be deported. Why is he going to be deported? Because he violated the law. What was the law he violated? Well, he did it not on purpose in this case. He didn't know about it. He got married, so he got the blue book when he got married, but he didn't register it. Apparently he thought somebody was going to register for him, or he didn't know that he had to register it with the KUA, the Religious Affairs Office. So he's being sponsored by his wife, and he went to extend his permit, his residency permit, and when they were examining his documents, they found out that this says that he was in possession of fake documents. Okay, he was in possession of a marriage book that hadn't been registered. Did he do this on purpose to try to trick anybody? It does not seem so from the story, but immigration checked and they found out that the book was not registered. The family said, look, here are photos of the wedding, here's all the people at reception. You know, this is a legal thing. It's just a small mistake. Apparently not to immigration. They are going to send him back to Taiwan. Now, once he's sent back to Taiwan, is he going to be banned from coming back here for 6 months? I don't know. Is this a bit of an overreaction? Boy, it seems so to me. And so this poor foreigner is going to be deported because he didn't have his documents all in order. So if you were living here, if you're getting married here, especially if you're getting married here, you're renting a house or whatever you're doing, make sure your documents are in order. Better to do the legwork than end up in the detention cell at immigration, which is where this poor guy is, and then sent away. Okay, I've talked about planes recently, and here's another segment, Pelita Air, to add planes routes in push for passengers segment. So PT Pelita Air Service, a subsidiary of state-owned oil and gas company Pertamina, has detailed plans for its expansion over the coming years as it enters the domestic air passenger market with full force. Never bad thing to have another airline here. It may help bring down the prices, some more competition. Having offered charter services in the past few years, Pelita Air is now entering the scheduled flight business with the aim of adding 10 more planes annually over the next 5 years, starting in 2023. By the end of the year, Pelita expects to have 8 aircraft, up from the first 2 aircraft that it bought in April for its scheduled flight segments. Around 80 pilots and 160 crew members are to be recruited every year to man the increasing fleet. We cannot say much yet about gaining market share, according to Pelita Air's CEO. He said, our smallest competitors for domestic travel like AirAsia have at least 25 planes, while we will have just a third of that at the end of the year. He said that Pelita will be leasing rather than purchasing aircraft for its expansion, and that it will only operate one type of aircraft, the Airbus A320, which is similar to AirAsia's strategy to minimize cost. And the fleet expansion will enable the airline to offer new routes from Jakarta to Surabaya, Balikpapan, and other major cities in Indonesia, in addition to currently Bali and Jogja. Why Balikpapan, he said? Because there will be a new capital city, of course, and so people will be flying to Kalimantan. What's that going to do to Kalimantan? I don't know. That's a different story. According to the CEO, Pak Dendi, he said an adequate fleet is necessary to quickly catch up with the competitors. Wow. And he added that Pelita Air aims to match the flight frequency of the existing players. Okay, so sounds like they're going to be relatively aggressive in going after the domestic market. Maybe there'll be some deals and bargains. Pak Dendi said that Indonesia is an archipelago and there is an increasing demand for air travel to get around the country. He said the airline is going to focus on medium service flights, allowing it to enter the market without directly competing with national flag carrier Garuda, which has full service, or Garuda's subsidiary CityLink, which is the low-cost carrier. According to the Transportation Ministry, a full-service airline must provide some alternatives in the menu offered on board. Okay, I didn't know this. And medium service only has to provide one item, and low cost has to provide a 0. Pak Dendi said that the airline's marketing strategy will target millennials. He argues that many Indonesians in that age bracket have sufficient income now to be able to afford frequent air travel. He said the target is for having a profit starting next year. He said there's going to be a thin margin, but that a profit will be achievable. And he added that they expect to have 70% load factor by the end of the year, whereas in the early days it will be less than 50%. Okay, has anybody flown Pelita? I haven't. If you've flown Pelita, leave a comment. And here is something which is just, I can't believe this. This is one of these stupider things that I've heard of. Indonesian bar chain sparks uproar with Muhammad drink promotion. A popular Indonesian bar chain is being investigated for blasphemy over free alcohol promotion for patrons named Muhammad or Mary. Now, Muslims are not supposed to drink, but I know a number of Muslims who do have a drink or two. They are not banned from drinking in the country, like in, say, Pakistan, for example, but drinking is definitely frowned upon. In a now deleted post, the Holy Wings bar offered a free bottle of gin for men named Muhammad and women named Maria. This was every Thursday if they presented an ID card that showed that that was their name. At least 2 youth organizations have reported the chain for religious blasphemy, a crime that carries a maximum sentence of 5 years in prison under Indonesian law. Authorities have launched an investigation into the bar's promotion and warned the public not to raid any of the chain's premises. There were apparently several Islamic organizations planning to raid the bar premises. The business was forced to issue an apology and claimed that management was unaware of the promotion. According to a senior official of Muhammadiyah, Muhammadiyah is one of the major Islamic organizations in Indonesia, in case you don't know, he said that the promotion was unethical. He said it's regrettable when religious symbols are being toyed with, not only Islamic religious symbols, but other religions as well. Why use Muhammad, he said. Why not other names that are not linked to any religion, like Bruce, for example? They should offer some free booze for people named Bruce. Now, is there a Holy Wings in Bali? I don't know. As you know, I don't get to the tourist area. If there's a Holy Wings here and somebody from Holy Wings is listening, free promotion for people named Bruce. I will show up every Thursday, even if I have to drive all the way across the island. So people have been calling for the owners of the bars to be punished, even if they were unaware of the drinks deal. Just an apology will not be enough. There should be logical consequences, according to conservative lawmaker Fahira Idris, and she tweeted this to her 650,000 followers. And I found this morning the Jakarta police have arrested 6 people on charge of the blasphemy over the bar chain's free alcohol promotion. What's going to happen there? I don't know, but boy, it is not good to be busted on blasphemy charges in Indonesia. And what's happening on the tourist front in Bali? Tamblang Dam prepared to become a new tourist attraction. Now, if you don't know where Tamblang is, it's down this way. You go down east from my house, you get to Kubu Tambahan, you turn right. There's a sign where you can go to get up to Kintamani, and you will pass Tamblang. It's not far from there. And I've gone through there a couple times. There's been this construction going on for a long time. I had no idea what they were building. Apparently they're building a dam, and it's going to be a tourist attraction, they think and hope. So if the dam becomes a tourist attraction, it will afford the surrounding community to increase their income and their village original income, PAD. I was always wondering what PAD meant. Okay, it's a village original income. The Sawan village government is preparing human resources to welcome the new tourist attraction. According to Sawan Village Perbekal Nyoman Wira, he said that they are preparing through foreign language communication training in providing services to visitors who come. Sawan is a center for blacksmithing and pandai gong crafts, and they are going to be offering those things apparently for sale as souvenirs at the dam once it is opened up and running. Through coordination with the village government, Tamblang and Sawan will enter into a cooperation agreement, and the plan is that near the dam a multi-purpose hall will be prepared as a venue for art performances, including village art activities. The dam has a height of 68 meters, and it's estimated to be able to hold up to 7 million cubic meters of water sourced from the Tukadaya, the Tukad River. When the dam is completed, it can supply clean water with a capacity of 510 liters per second. With such a large capacity, farmers in the Sawan and Kubu Adan sub-districts will have no trouble getting clean water. Tamblang Dam is the only dam in Bali and maybe even in Indonesia that uses an asphalt core. The use of the asphalt core is intended so that the dam core is watertight. Okay, I know nothing about building dams. Okay, I've got a couple more segments here, but too much today. If you found this video helpful, informative, useful, interesting, non-irritating, humorous, consider giving it a thumbs up. If you have not subscribed, also consider subscribing. Videos are Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and a cooking video on Sunday. And there will be a cooking video this week. There are these little cakes that my wife made. They're kind of soft and spongy, and they are so good, so good. You really have to watch this video. Yeah. You know, I like my wife's cooking. She's an amazing cook. But these things, I took a dozen of them last night, and I ate all of them in like 20 minutes. I just could not stop eating them. They're slightly sweet and slightly salty. Wow, amazing. That's it. Thanks for viewing. Be kind to someone today. Stay safe. And I will see you on Wednesday.